Hello and welcome back. So the witching hour, Halloween, October, everything's technically over by now, but we still haven't finished this book. So I'm gonna finish reading the Hardy Boys book, The Witchmaster's Key, and then I have a nice announcement for the channel going forward, following all the stuff that happened over this last weekend that we'll get into later, and maybe I'll release that video at some point. But anyway, chapter 20, The Skeleton. It was Satan himself. What a way to start a chapter. I love that. It was Satan himself. His repulsive mask looked more diabolical than ever in the flickering candlelight. The purple feathers of his headdress made him seem like a monstrous bird of prey. Uttering an oath, he leapt down from the shadows and flung himself at Joe. "I helped you," Satan screamed, "and you'll ruin everything." The police overpowered him while he struggled, kicked, and shrieked. Frank ripped off the satanic mask and stood dumbfounded. "Dr. Borelli!" "My dentist," Joe explained. "So you're the new witch master of East Anglia." The Evanses looked open-mouthed as the drama unfolded. The workshop in your basement gave you great cover," Frank said. "We never guessed you were making masks for your witches as well as for your Gravesend players." Joe's mind was working at top speed. "You're the one with the shock of gray hair and the bushy beard, Borelli. You carried the sword at John Pickenbaugh's funeral." "And you had Pickenbaugh's body dug up afterwards and brought it here," Frank went on. "But why?" "It is a satanic relic," Borelli screeched at them. "Do not touch it ever." "Who'd want to?" Frank said. "And when we got interested in your satanic relic, you had us pushed into an open grave. Then you had Ellerby harass us." Borelli's smile was evil. "He was probably He-Goat's accomplice at Stonehenge," Joe said. "The friendly old man who gave Professor Rowbotham the fake message and planted a cablegram." "Now I get it," Frank said. "Remember Goodman has a cousin in New York? No doubt he sent it." "And it was obvious who robbed the museum in Griffinmore," Joe deduced. "The purple feather fell out of the good doc's fancy Easter bonnet." Chet nodded. "He probably wore it to frighten anyone who might surprise him, and it sure would have worked." "Robbery, eh?" One of the policemen took up the thread. "But why would a black witch rob a witch museum of all places?" By now, Borelli had realized he'd lost. "We needed money for our coven," he said dejectedly. "And being black witches, it was easy for us to sell the artifacts as family heirlooms." "Was Sears in on it?" Joe asked. "No, he's innocent." "And Milton Craighead?" "He is too." Frank nodded. "When we tried to find a clue in the empty museum, someone familiar with the place turned off the master fuse. Was it you?" "Yes, I wanted to scare you out of the building. All your snooping could come to no good." "And when we found the imprint on the cement and went to see Lance McKnight for a cast," Joe said. "He sent us off to Hopkins in London into the hands of enemies, black witches too, no doubt." "McKnight? Hopkins?" Borelli looked surprised. "They're not witches. I had nothing to do with them." "What about the key you waved at us before?" Fred pressed on. Borelli's eyes narrowed. "You'll never find it," he said craftily. Frank drew it out of his pocket. "Here it is. Goodman dropped it." The dentist erupted into another paroxysm of fury. "No," he bellowed. "You can't have it. The key is mine. Do you hear? Mine!" Since he refused to calm down, the police dragged him out of the castle and put him in the backseat of their car. It took two bobbies to hold him. "We'll arrest him," the sergeant said, "and round up the rest of the black witches." "By the way, the special exhibit at Black Magic Hall was stolen from Griffinmore," Frank said, and he explained their mission to England. "We'll see that everything is returned," the policeman promised. And he got into the front seat. The dog leapt in beside him, and the car drove off. The Hardys and their friends returned to Douglas, where they said goodbye to the Evanses and went back to their room in the inn. Frank said, "We'll go back to Griffinmore as soon as possible and see if the key belongs to Craighead. Want to come?" he asked Phil and Chet. "I'd rather stay for the motorcycle races," Phil said. "And I want to corral me a pair of Manx cats," Chet added, "and go into business. They should be a hit in Bayport." Next morning, Frank and Joe flew off to London and went to Griffinmore. They told Professor Rowbotham they had found stolen items of his collection on Man, and they would be returned to him. "With the pieces from London and those Sam Radley found in New York," Frank said, "you'll have most of your collection back now." That's splendid," Rowbotham stated. "The Witch Museum can reopen. The case is solved, thanks to you." "Not yet, Professor," Joe told him. "The key we brought back from the Isle of Man has to be checked out." "That is something you ought to know before proceeding," Rowbotham declared. "It is said that Eagleton Green will be sold to the London Syndicate. They will have a mass meeting this afternoon." Good. How would you like to be the star speaker? Frank said. Rapidly, he laid out their suspicious about criminal pressure being put on the artisan colony to sell out. You can throw the wrench, a spanner in the works, Joe said. I say, the professor replied, that would be a proper retribution. I'll do it. Frank and Joe, meanwhile, drove to Craighead Castle, accompanied by a constable with a search warrant. Joe brought a flashlight. When Mrs. Goodman saw the Hardys, her eyes opened wide in disbelief. You! You! Yes, we returned in one piece, Frank said. Where's your master? And we don't mean which master, Joe added. The woman said Milton Craighead was in London. When she turned to hurry off, the officer restrained her. I need you as a witness, he said. I have a warrant to search this castle. Why? To see if the key fits, Frank said, displaying the ancient relic. Mrs. Goodman's hands began to tremble. She took a deep breath. Where would you like to start? In the turret, Joe said. More specifically, in the armor room. Shakily, the housekeeper led the way up the stone stairs and stopped before the storage room. The policeman opened the door, and Joe shone his light inside. Then all three searched amid the relics of medieval warfare. Finally, the constable said, I say, what are we looking for? A hidden door, Joe said, leading to a hidden room. He told of the outside window, located roughly in this area. Oh, yes, I see it, but there's no door in there. Hold it, Frank said. He stopped behind a suit of jet black armor. Here's something. With both hands, he pushed a panel against the wall. It slid silently to one side, revealing an oak door about 5 feet high. Frank pushed Borelli's key into the lock and exerted all his strength to turn it. Grating harshly, the lock snapped open. The constable put his shoulder against the oak and pushed it. The door swung back on the creaking hinges. The trio ducked and entered a small chamber where the woman stood in the doorway. It was musty with dust and cobwebs. Light came up the window, and Joe had noticed. It fell upon a treasure trove of witchery. Charts bearing weird signs hung on the wall. Jars of herbs occupied the shelves. Cauldrons, wands, daggers, stuffed animals, and dolls pierced by pins were scattered around the room. A ray of sunlight slanting through the window fell upon a bundle of old tweeds lying on the floor. Holy cow! Look! Frank exclaimed. From above the coat collar protruded a grinning skull, bony hands extended from the cuffs. The constable bent down on one knee to examine the label inside the jacket. On it was the name of a London tailor and the words, made exclusively for Lord Craighead. Good grief, we found him, Joe exclaimed. Further scrutiny revealed that a vial was lying next to one hand and a piece of paper near the other. Frank read it. Looks like the formula for a potion, he said. Suddenly the trio noticed that Mrs. Goodman had vanished. I'll get her, the constable said. He hurried off and in a few minutes returned with the weeping housekeeper, Professor Rowbotham. I say, astounding news, Professor said breathlessly. Lord Craighead, really? Looks like it, Frank said and added, I thought you were to the meeting. Most certainly, it's all over. He paused, looking down at the skeleton. Poor fellow. How about this, Frank said and handed him the paper. This is the formula for an ancient rejuvenation potion. It's in Lord Craighead's handwriting. Frank shivered. This must really be his skeleton. It's been locked in this room for 5 years. Maybe he came in here to drink the potion and become young again, Joe theorized. Perhaps it poisoned him. The professor shook his head. Only if someone exchanged the liquid in the bottle for another. The potion is harmless. Rowbotham leaped through the papers in the small desk. Here is more information, he said. It certifies that Lord Craighead was the witchmaster of East Anglia. Dear me, and his assistant was John Pickenbaugh. They practiced the arts of witchcraft in this secret room. All the while Mrs. Goodman was watching with piercing eyes. Suddenly Joe realized where he'd seen those eyes before. Mrs. Goodman, he accused her. You're the palmist from London Witch Collection. You were disguised when you stuck that needle into Frank's hand. The game is up. By now your husband's been arrested on the Isle of Man. He goat is out of circulation along with the witchmaster, Dr. Borelli. Joe's words struck the housekeeper like a thunderclap. She became hysterical and finally confessed. Pickenbaugh, she said, resented, playing second fiddle to Craighead and poisoned him so he could be witchmaster. When he died, Borelli was next in line. And the doc didn't like us trying to find out what was going on here, Frank said. Yes, the woman sobbed. Both she and her husband at Borelli's order had lain in wait in London. He was disguised, too, he said. He followed you to the underground. You also poured the oil on the castle steps, no doubt, Joe said. And did you have Mary Ellerby accuse us of malicious mischief? The woman hung her head. You'll have to come with me, the policeman said as he led Mrs. Goodman downstairs. First, he phoned the coroner, then the police station with his report. The boys and the professor, meanwhile, had returned to his home. Frank felt the usual letdown that came whenever they solved a case. Would there be a new adventure? They'd have to he would have cheered up if he'd known that they'd soon be traveling to Zurich and Mexico and the Jungle Pyramid. Spoiler alert. When they arrived at the professor's house, Steers served tea. He was shocked to hear his sister was a witch. Her husband must have talked her into it, he said weakly. Oh, it's terrible. Just terrible. Now tell us what about the meeting, Joe said to Robotham. What happened? Everything is fine now. Well, we caught the scoundrels. For goodness sake, Professor, give us the details. Who were the scoundrels? The ones you suspected. In what was virtually another interrogation, the Harrys pulled the story out of the Professor. When he confronted Hopkins with the truth about his shady operation, the Londoner denied it all, but Nip Hadley came forward to confess his part in the arson plots. I said he did it all under arrest, the Professor said. The law will go lightly with him. Then what? Frank prodded. Their host said that Hopkins and McKnight tried to sneak off. Well, they were about to drive away in McKnight's red MG when the infuriated artisans surrounded them. The red MG, Joe exclaimed. Yes, I remember. It had the Motor Club emblem, as you once mentioned. There's now a charge against Mr. McKnight. By the way, he also admitted releasing his savage dog to frighten you after your visit to his shop. So Eagleton Green is saved, Frank said, grinning. But, Professor, there's still one thing that bothers us. What became of the poison? What poison? The stuff that was stolen from your museum. The jars of hemlock, aconite, I don't know what all. We've got to find it before somebody gets killed. Robotham held up a hand. There's no need to get excited. Why not, Joe demanded. Because there is no poison. The jars were empty. And that's just where it ends. And then the next one was definitely called the Jungle Pyramid. It's just kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to read any more of these. It's just kind of interesting that this was what it was. So that's the story. We now know the identities of the Witchmaster and his cronies. And, yeah. I've got a big announcement. I'm going to play a game and show you that. So we'll be right back. So hello. We just beat the Witchmaster's Key. Finished reading the Witchmaster's Key. And the final episode of the Witching Hour. I really hope that you have enjoyed this series and enjoyed having a daily video for most of October. And doing all the things that we need to do to enjoy ourselves and have a good spooky season. I'm going to be eating a little bit during this video. I'm going to talk for a minute. But as you can see, we are here, and this is Sweet Home, and my big announcement. So I've enjoyed doing daily videos all throughout October, and reading a book that I've always wanted to read with you guys, and continuing that. So, what I'm going to do from now on, at least for a while, and I'm going to try to do more regular content on this channel again, I'm going to start by playing this game. This was delightful. It was one of the more delightful parts of our adventures this October. Well, it wasn't my favorite game. I think my favorite game that I played had to be Akamanto. Such a nasty game, but it's fun. I also really liked Slide in the Woods a lot, Burgers and Frights, and this, Sweet Home. So we're going to continue playing this and do a long play of this. I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to get a guide. If I get stuck, I might need to walk through. I recently watched the movie that accompanied this game. I don't remember which one came first, but it's a Japanese horror from 1988. I think it probably came before this. It has an advertisement for the game at the beginning of the movie, too, so it's really interesting. I've learned a little bit since we played last, so I'm going to press start if I can remember how to do that. There we go. Change names. No, I want to know everyone's name because it's important to know everyone's names. An investigation team searches for Mamiya Ichiru's fresco. Here they are. Okay. We have to escape. There has to be another exit. We'd better search for the mansion. Okay, so I've got Taro. Also, remember, we each have our... Oh, wait, is Kazuo the main guy? We each have our own tools. Yeah, okay, this is Kazuo. That's right. Taro's the cameraman. Last time I thought this was a guy, but this is Akiko. She's a doctor. Yeah, It all makes sense now. It all makes a lot of sense now. So we're gonna find Mamiya Ichiru's fresco. Stop. What was that? Here we go. So we have this party option. And you can, so I can talk to people. Taro, don't worry. Alright. Asuka, don't worry. Thanks. Asuka will worry. Akiko, don't worry. Okay. And Emi is his daughter. Emi, don't worry. Okay. Emi is the main guy's is this guy's daughter. He's like an older guy. So they're like a journalist team, and they're here to look for this painting. This lady's here. She's like the reporter, and she does the investigation on the painting or the actual restoration. This lady's like the production producer. This guy's the cameraman, and this guy. She's just here because she's the main the main director guy's daughter. So, what we're gonna do is you can make a party by doing this. You do party. I want Akiko. Oh wait, what? No, party. Taro, right? No, Taro's this guy. I get Kazuo. Okay, Kazuo, and we want a party. Why is this not working? Or is it team, maybe? Party. Yeah, maybe we gotta do team. Should we team up? Yes, good idea. Okay, there we go. We want her and him, and then, I forget, we need this lady, I think, for now. We'll get her. No, I don't really want to leave. Let's take his daughter. Yeah, safety in numbers. Okay, you can have a team of up to 3 people. But now I have to, party. Switch to Asuka. Oh. Let's move Taro. So this is a game kind of about doing... Sharp glasses everywhere. Item. Vacuum. Use. Used vacuum. I don't know what's happening, but let's stick together. Okay. Okay, so this is pretty much the teams from the movie anyway, so no. I wanted party. I wanted to go back to Kazuo. Okay. So here we are. This place is huge. That left room. A chasm. If only we had a bridge. So it's just like the movies didn't have these things. The movie was a lot more mundane story, so it's kind of a little more interesting. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing from now on this channel. We're going to try to play this throughout November and throughout the coming months. So let's look at this. A note. Takashi, the next fresco is across and on the left. Be careful. So there were others like us. Frightening. It's a little different than this. Okay, let's get Party. Let's get Asuka and Taro. Get them in here too. This is actually the fresco from the movie. A fresco, but how to preserve it? Used vacuum. But nothing happened. Okay, in the movie she has to vacuum the dust off the fresco. That's why I did that. It's fruit knife. Waxy. Tonic. A letter. Welcome to my home. Photograph my fresco, for there lies the clue to the way out. It's from Ichiru, and that must be the fresco. Okay, so we actually have to get, yeah, let's look. An item. We have the camera. Used camera. Letters appeared. 1 through 6. My 3 frescoes will solve a puzzle. Okay. So, everybody's health. Their level. Stop. That must be the pause button. Okay. Slowly learning here. Let's save. Save game, yes. Continue. No. We're gonna stop there for now. I just wanted to make this announcement, but I'm gonna be playing more of this, and we're gonna delve into the mysteries of Sweet Home and discover what this game contains. So look forward to that. Hold reset to save the data. Reset. Hang on. Well, I'll be back. I'll see you next time.